so I feel a little out of the pocket. We got this. We totally got this. Yeah,
Let's
it's
do
gonna be
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Back on Track. I'm Carrie Gard. If you're a B2B founder or small marketing team looking at a CRM full of direct and organic leads, and you have no idea which of your marketing bets is actually paying off, you are not alone. Between AI snippets killing the click and dark social hiding the conversation, the old tracking playbook, I hate to say it, folks, cliche or no cliche, is dead. Today we're talking to Jenna Nelson, founder of Her AI Agency. AI Agency,
It's a
about how to
mouthful.
survive. I love it. How to survive the shift to zero-click search and why your visibility is about to become your most important leading indicator. Jenna, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So excited to have you. I could talk about this stuff all day. But before
Same.
we get straight into it, a
Yeah.
little warm up sesh.
Yeah.
Before we dig in, let's clear the air. Give me the
Okay.
one sentence reality check for these 2026. We're only 2 months in, and the buzzwords are out of control. So let's rate it in here. Uh, Zero click search.
Yes.
Yes, one sentence reality check for these buzzwords in terms of like what do they mean to you, and is this a good thing or not a good thing?
I don't know that it's good or bad. It's neutral. It's just a change. I think that's the one word sentence is we are in a very um evolving world of digital search right now. And what you kind of have to do is adapt. I think we're in the adapt moment right now. So there's a lot of change management happening. There's a lot of old tricks dying off, and then new opportunities that are, available to basically kind of get in while it's still early. And that's kind of what I think is really beautiful right now is that a lot of people haven't started that transition yet. So there's a lot of opportunity maybe for some smaller businesses to make up some ground against some of these like really established entities, just because they haven't started that switch yet.
Stay tuned, folks. We're going to unpack all of that. One sentence for dark social.
Um, it's not as scary as it sounds, and there are ways to surface good content and your content without playing that game.
We're going to unpack that too, folks. The contact us page as an attribution source.
Um, Kind of irrelevant at this point. I think people are finding you in so many different ways. If you're still relying on just a contact us page, you're leaving a lot of opportunity from other pathways.
And last one for you, impression volume.
That's a vanity metric. It's, you want to pay attention to that. Obviously, there's some data there, but I don't care if you're getting 10,000 impressions, if they're the wrong impressions or impressions that are never going to convert because it's not your audience. They're kind of meaningless.
The right impressions, for sure. For sure. All right, Jenna, we've set the stage, folks.
Yeah,
Buckle
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Buckle up. Jenna, when the click disappears because AI is answering the question on the SERP, how do we shift our messaging? Are we now writing for the LLM or the human who's just reading the snippet? Who are we writing for?
The answer and the complicated one is you're writing for both. We still need to be producing human readable content. I still want you to produce things that when you read them back to yourself out loud, make sense and sounds like something that a human wants to interpret. However, we also need to be acknowledging the fact that machines are reading our content and our information as well, and that machines read it differently than a human does. Machines are not seeing your branding. They're not seeing your pretty logo. They're not focusing on the animations on your page. That's not what a machine is reading. So structuring your content in a way that is machine readable is really, really key, because ultimately we're trying to give that machine a roadmap to surface our content so that a human gets to it. Ultimately, that's the goal, right? Like we want a machine to surface it so that it gets in front of your audience, which are in fact humans, hopefully.
Yes, they are. Yes. Yes, they are. It is important. I totally agree that you need to do both. I was talking to somebody just the other day, and they mentioned that their company is making like a shadow website. And I was like,
Interest.
interesting. They're like, yeah, we don't expect people to come here. I was like, but you expect it to show up in the LLMs? And they're like, well, yeah. And I was like, and the humans who want to verify where the content's coming from, you don't think they might, I don't know, click through to see what the content's saying? And they were like, oh,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's such
yeah.
an interesting concept. I'm working on a project right now where we are trying to take essentially a completely unknown brand and unknown concept and get them quoted in line in the LLMs. And we've been having that conversation, right? It's like, are we writing for the human or are we writing for the LLM? And it's both. And so, I've gone back and forth with their team a lot where it's like, here's why I'm structuring it this way, because my goal is to get it surfaced in the LLM, but also I need it to pass the human checkpoints as well. So that's an interesting conversation for sure.
You said that static PDF is dead.
It is.
If we can't get a white paper to see who's
Yeah.
interested,
Yeah.
what is the one interactive asset a small team can build to identify intent in a zero-click world?
So I love basically interactive AI tools as a front entry point to your content, to your business as a whole. Static PDFs, like I said, they are dead. Nobody wants just like a PDF anymore to read. We want something that actually helps us do something or figure something out or get to the answer. We want tools. So I really like and really, for my clients, I'm building these front end interactive tools that do two things. One, they pre-qualify for, it's saving a lot of time on sales calls. It's saving a lot of, kind of mismatch between, is this really a fit for this person? And I think that's good on both the client side and on the business side, right? Like we don't want to get on I don't want to get on a sales call and spend an hour finding out that this isn't the solution that's meant for me or right for me. That's a waste of my time and it's a waste of the business's time. So that it does that one thing. It also creates that initial brand experience, which I think is really powerful as well. You can put coaching tidbits in there. You can kind of set expectations for like how your process works or how working with your business works. So I think it's a great initial brand touch point that, when trained properly, when it is usable and functional as a tool, I think it gives your audience that initial like comfort level of, oh, they get it. They know what they're talking about. This is the right answer for me, or this isn't the right answer for me. This is way off of what I'm looking for. And they kind of self-excuse themselves through that process.
So are you saying somebody comes to your website, but instead of having a PDF to download, they start interacting with an LLM essentially that's totally trained on all of your information and content?
Absolutely. Yeah. I have that on the front end of my own website. It's like a strategist advisor. So it helps them kind of find like their initial point of entry with me. Like, where are you? Where should you go? Do you need to book a call? Do you need to go this direction? Which I think helps cut down on confusion. A confused mind doesn't buy. So I think that's a great first entry point. I have clients who, might have a self-guided course or something, or they have like a one-on-one program. And we've got these, tools at the very beginning that help them kind of self-evaluate where they are and which path to take. So yes, I think when you bring somebody to the website, if the very first thing you can do is interact with them, collect your information, right? Because we want that on the back end. We want those leads. We want that information in our CRM, but also help funnel them to the right place. I think that's a really powerful tool. And it doesn't require, them to download something and then probably leave it in their inbox and never actually come back to it, which, let's face it, is what's happening to most of your PDF lead magnets at this point because it's become so
True.
oversaturated.
Nobody's reading them.
Um, Nobody's reading them, right? Or they're, oh yeah, I want that checklist. Well, then they're never coming back and using the checklist. So they're never
Right.
getting to that next step that you want them to take. This is instant. It happens, immediately, and it's quick. Most of these tools, I would say if somebody's spending more than 3 minutes with it, they're probably bouncing. So it's quick and it's efficient. And I think that's really where we're at as a society online right now. We want quick
We want
answers.
answers.
We want answers. We want to move forward. We want
We
to
want it
get to the next thing.
personalized.
We want
We
it
want to know our
personalized.
problem.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. What an interesting way. Are you using a tool to help you build these? Are you vibe coding it? How are you building these tools?
Yeah, so it depends on what I need it to do. I am a huge supporter of MindPal. I love the MindPal platform and how we can customize those individual kind of agents and chatbots. So I build for most of my clients, I build on MindPal. Sometimes a custom GPT will do it, but you're really limited there with what information you can write back or how you can collect that lead information. It requires a lot more steps. So I really like the MindPal process because we can webhook it right back to the CRM and they're getting, name, email, maybe the whole chat if you want that.
Yeah.
I'm a big MindPal supporter. And then, Lovable is another good option. You can create a lot of quick no code stuff on Lovable as well.
I've heard a lot about Lovable.
Yeah,
Lovable's a yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Um, okay. That's clear directive right there, folks. Zachary Walker, thanks for joining us, sir. Lovely to see you. He says, truly developing content for two entirely different audiences is a marketer's dream. I think that might be sarcasm. I love it. We feel
It's
you, sir. We feel you.
yes.
Uh, let's talk about leading indicators. You mentioned them earlier in terms of when we were talking about when we alluded to them in terms of impressions. If we can't see the path from LinkedIn to the website,
Mhm.
what are the three metrics in your brand visibility spreadsheet that actually matter right now?
Conversions, first of all, like let's start at the top, right? Like if the content, I don't care how many leads you're getting, I don't care what your return on ad spend is, if they're not converting, it's fairly useless. So I think, conversions are top.
Still a
Um,
thing.
Still the thing, right? Like that's the most important. Um, Obviously, there's a case there for, if maybe they don't immediately convert, but they become a follower or they're opening your emails. I think email open rate is still really important. Email is still kind of one of the top revenue sources in terms of, click through. So I think I want to see your email list growing and I want to see people opening those emails. I think that's probably my secondary
First
metric.
party data.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, third, if you're using paid ads, certainly that return on ad spend is really viable and important to pay attention to. And that goes back to conversions. I see it all the time where they're like, oh yeah, my ads are converting by, somebody's filling out a form or they're entering the funnel, but they're not converting. And I'm like, well, then your return on ad spend is actually not what you think it is because they're not going all the way through and becoming a customer. So
Yeah.
that's the paid ads approach. Certainly, social impressions and followers, that can be really relevant, but it can also be a vanity metric. Again, if you've got a Facebook page with 10,000 followers, but none of them are ever going to buy from you, it's a vanity
Yeah.
metric.
What's the point?
It's not helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about LinkedIn because I came from 2 years ago where I was sort of on this up skit, like I was on this lovely trajectory of
Yeah.
impressions, sort of compounding and growing. I think a lot of us were, and then all of
Sure.
a sudden we just got our cut off at the ankles out of nowhere, where our impression volumes incredibly dropped, and then it felt like it was an uphill battle to get any sort of engagement back
Totally.
on. I I'm working with I've been talking and working with Evan Patterson, who's more about like the DMs, like who's sliding into your DMs. I imagine
Sure.
that's a really lovely indicator these days
Absolutely.
of terms of chats and what it depends on your audience if you're B2B and you're on LinkedIn. but can you get, is your content actually creating that behind the scenes conversation? I think is a new sort of indicator of
Absolutely.
things are happening.
Absolutely. Engagement is extremely key, regardless, whether it's in the DMs, whether it's in the comments, right? Like that's helping surface your content. There's a difference between somebody just viewing your content and kind of moving right past it and actually engaging with it. There's a big difference there.
Yeah, there's definitely lurkers. We see
Mm-hmm.
you, we appreciate you. And however you want to engage, that's up to them. But yeah, it's definitely a different world. It's just a different world. So
It is.
it's that dark social. It does sound big and scary. Let's talk about that for a second because we mentioned it
Yeah.
in the questions of it being
Yeah.
a thing. Help me, like, how do you see dark social and why doesn't it feel scary to you?
I think, ultimately what I, recommend for any brand is that you need to be putting forth content that resonates with your audience and that reaches the right people. And ultimately, kind of on the dark social side, and everybody defines that slightly differently. That can be, paid traffic that's, meant to scrape, away from your, the brand keyword competition. That's a whole thing. Um, but ultimately, I think dark social, just like black hat SEO practices are, they eventually weed themselves out as what they are, and if you are putting the right messaging out, if you're reaching the right audience, if you're resonating with that audience, ultimately, I think while it's frustrating and there's certainly some competition there, I think you filter out the people that are really going to buy. I think that's the big thing with dark social is realistically, those probably aren't reaching buyers anyway. And ultimately that's what we want. So it's annoying and it's frustrating. So is Black Hat SEO. But I think, realistically, do the right thing and you're going to get the right audience back.
When you say do the right thing, what are you, what do you mean by that? What's
Yeah,
the right
so
thing?
certainly helpful educational content, right? Like I am not a fan of putting content out for the sake of putting out content, right? Like it needs to do something. It needs to have a strategy behind it. If you're hiring one of those like $99 a month social media companies that just push something out a graphic every day because yes, stop, right? Like, yeah, maybe your follower count's increasing, but are they buying? Probably not. So that's not quality content. It doesn't look good on your brand and it doesn't move the needle any. So, what I want is thoughtful, helpful content that your audience actually wants to consume. And I think if you're doing that, you're building the right audience and the right base, even if it takes longer, right? Like, and it does, it takes a lot of content touch points these days to convert somebody to a buyer. But
It does.
if what's out there is good and helpful, it is going to compound eventually, and it is going to reach an audience, even if it does take longer than it used to.
I find there's a disconnect between what we think is helpful content and what your audience actually might need. Are
Right.
you seeing that disconnect and how are you helping solve for it?
I think that's true, and I think it's about where the content is existing. On a blog or a website or even LinkedIn, I think people are more likely to be looking for that really, impactful educational. They want to learn something. Certainly on YouTube, that's true as well. On Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, more often than not, people are they're doom scrolling, right? And they want to be entertained more than they want to be educated in that moment. And that's where it gets tricky. So I like to use those as like the hook, right? Like that's where you get them interested in you. That's how you get the eyes. But
Brand.
then,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of like your actual content that's meant to convert, most likely that's not going to happen on those casual browsing socials. That's going to happen, on your website, that's going to happen in your blog, that's going to happen on your long form video content on YouTube. That's where that transition is. So I think really what I would encourage people to do is utilize each platform for what it's best at, and not try to shoehorn, really high authority content onto TikTok, because that's not usually why people are on TikTok. Whereas on LinkedIn, nobody's wanting you dancing on a reel either. That's the wrong fit there, So like if I saw that on LinkedIn, I'd be like, what are you
Very
doing?
confused.
You're just embarrassing yourself. Stop. So utilize the platform for what it's meant for, and why match viewer intent with your content, essentially.
It sounds like top of funnel. Well, that's a whole other subject we could unpack. But
Sure.
I'm going to roll with it because the
Yeah,
funnel is touchy subject. But before
sure.
we dive into that, um, in terms of those impressions and that more brand awareness building, top of funnel
Mm-hmm.
awareness stuff, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like video is really helpful there in what you're
It's a,
saying.
it's king right now in 2026. It really is. And it's short form. Honestly, like the long form video content is kind of starting to tank a little too. Like we used to watch 45-minute YouTube explainer videos. Nobody's doing
Those were
that
the
anymore.
days.
Those are the days, right? Yep. It's shorts, right? And they keep getting shorter and shorter, right? Like we went from like 15-second views being kind of the metric that we were paying attention to now it's like 3-second views. So you have
Oh
a
gosh.
it's you have a very short window of time to hook somebody. So yes, I think video content is just what people are interested in now. It's how people want to learn and how they want to interact with your brand. And two, I think as we move more into this AI forward world, while I think there's a great place for AI video, and even AI avatars have a useful place in the world. People respond to human on camera, and that kind of unproduced, unbluffed, raw content is what stops the scroll now, because the scroll otherwise is highly produced or AI avatars or AI video. And so, whereas, 5 years ago, we wanted your videos to look polished and professional. Now we're moving back towards nope, just give
What's
me,
real?
give me what's real. Give me the info that I want. I want a real person behind it. I don't care if you're walking down the street while you're talking to me. It's fine. So certainly that method of communication is where everybody wants to be right now.
My kids call AI video fake,
Which is completely
which
fair.
is totally fair. They're not wrong. It's just interesting because that word has such a like it comes with so much weight when you call
It
people.
does.
It's like the untrustworthiness of it.
Yes.
Um, but you said there's a place for AI and
Yeah.
AI avatars. Tell me more about what that place is and how we should maybe potentially be thinking about it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I always say is there's a lot of people that just aren't comfortable on camera, or don't have the time to be on camera all of the time. But that doesn't mean that you don't have something valuable to say, or that you can't produce content that's going to be helpful to your audience. So, as an example, I work with a lot of attorneys, and small attorney firms, and it's not a good use of these attorneys' time to be making short form videos all day, every day, right? Like that is not, they are billing $400 an hour. That's not what I want them doing with their time. So those cases can be really good for an AI avatar, for short form content, because people need that information, right? Like they need to know
But it's
about.
also yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's also just such a high trust industry though. So how do you balance that with them getting the knowledge but also being able to trust if it's not a real person?
And I think that balance is what's really key, right? Like I would not want your entire brand to be AI avatars or AI led content. And that's true of any content. If all of your social media content is AI written, it's probably not going to hit the way that it should. I think it's, using it strategically, and, maybe you're producing one really good long form material a week that's you in front of a camera or handwritten blog posts or whatever that might be. But then we're using AI to create snippets from that long form video and maybe B-roll and things like that. So I think there is just a balance, and that balance is probably different for every industry, right? Like you mentioned, like this is a high trust environment, for legal services, certainly. But I also think there's, something to be said for just getting the eyes on what you might be trying to explain to them and make sure that people know. So finding the balance in your individual business is really important.
Such a balance. It's all about, we're balancing it all. I think there was this wonderful meme going around of a gal standing on a table with like her leg crossed and like holding plates up, like, and she was like, "This is marketing today."
This is absolutely right. Absolutely. And it's changing every 5 minutes. Like there's a new tool or new system or something like every hour. It's exhausting.
Exhausting. Speaking of just a lot changing, a lot going on. One of the things that I'm now being able to structure and create visibility around of how I'm talking about it is the way that search has changed. But oh my gosh, the acronym soup of all of the things, like our poor audience, no wonder why they're confused of like not knowing what to do or what they need or what's happening. How are you sort of seeing this? We talked about it initially a little bit earlier, but in terms of the industry as a whole, from a search perspective, when somebody comes to you and they're like, my organic traffic is down,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to do about it.
Right.
How are you helping them navigate this like craziness? You got
Yeah.
SEO, AEO, AIO,
SEO. Yes.
yeah, all of
Yeah. All of them.
AI SEO. Yeah, you got all of it. So yeah, how are you cutting through the noise of
Yeah.
all that?
Yeah. So, the first thing that I tell anybody is like, you aren't crazy. Your organic traffic has decreased, and it's not just you, it's everybody. Click-through rates are dropping dramatically. Nobody is going to Google and scrolling all the way down the first page anymore and clicking 10 blue links. Like that is not happening. And we're not interested in trying to like read everything and come up with our own answer anymore. That's what AI is doing for us. And so those answer snippets are extremely valuable. That's a huge source of where people are getting their information now. We're using voice assistants a lot. And, Alexa isn't giving you a link to go click, but she's giving you an answer, or Siri's giving you an answer. So those voice assistants matter too. And that's changing the nature of search a lot. And then on top of that, right, we've got, now the map pack, right? Like if you are not in that top 3 and you're a local business and you're not in the top 3 in that area, forget it. Like you're basically invisible. And that's harsh, but true. And so those things are all, really relevant, and it is changing our website traffic. It is changing click-through rates. But that doesn't mean there's not a visibility opportunity there. It just means you've got to, as you said, invite all these other acronyms into your strategy. It's no longer an SEO strategy, right? It's a visibility strategy.
Yes,
and it's being visible everywhere your audience is searching. And, if you know your audience really well and you know your business really well, you might know exactly where it is that they're searching. There's an audience for LinkedIn. There's an audience for website traffic. There's an audience for everything. But I think the best practice for most businesses is you need to be visible everywhere, because, everybody's a little different, right? Like I have almost completely abandoned Google. If I can't get it from ChatGPT or, the map pack, then I'm not clicking through Google most of the time, right?
right.
And everybody's a little different. That may be Claude for some people, maybe that's a different browser, a different search engine, or maybe it's Facebook. A lot of people, if they're looking for something, they're going to go to Facebook first, or they're going to go to LinkedIn first. So you basically have to be everywhere at the same time.
Yeah.
But what's important is that your messaging is consistent across all of those platforms, because anywhere that they're going to find you, it needs to resonate with that brand. And also that's what creates authority and trust with the LLMs and even Google. If your brand is really disjointed, if you're saying one thing on TikTok but something totally different on LinkedIn, it can't piece that together, and it doesn't surface you as a authoritative, quotable source. So I always break it down into credibility, crawlability. I'm losing a C in my own methodology here. Credibility, crawlability. It'll come back to me, or maybe it won't. There's a third one. But the credibility is really important. Google LLMs, they need something to be able to cite. You need to be able to show those platforms that you are worth citing. So that credibility is really important. Those authorship signals, sources, data points, that's all really relevant. And then the crawlability, right, is the technical structure. It needs to be, you need your structured schema, you need to be formatting content with your H1s, your H2s, your H3s. I like short explainer blocks at the top of everything, because that's what gets surfaced to the LLM. So there is a structure for what's working right now, and kind of finding how to align your content with that structure is really key.
Very. Yeah, we're thinking about it as search visibility optimization, because it's no longer just the landing page anymore, right? It's your entire digital footprint. And so how do you make sure, and to your point too earlier of like wherever people are searching, whether it's Reddit or LinkedIn or Gemini or Google or Maps, right? You have to optimize for each place now, in terms of that visibility with consistent positioning and messaging. So make sure what you're hanging your hat on is key to how your audience is thinking about the problem you solve. So yeah, totally aligned there. And what I love what you said too, that we're doubling down on is all of them, right? So the only one I'm going to call out, and I'd love your feedback on this too, is I believe it SEO, AEO, and GEO. But I think people are getting caught up in AI SEO. And I think there's a distinction there that's important when it comes to the quality of content, especially that you were talking about earlier.
Right.
That might be getting lost in that one.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Like, are you defining it in a way of like people creating content specifically for the AI tools, or AI created content? Because I think there's two.
It's how I understand AI SEO in particular is the tools you use to do SEO. Which tells me that it's more about content creation and pumping out content to get quote unquote ranked. So it's not, it's more of a quantity versus the quality. I think it's trying to do both, but not necessarily doing it well.
Right? And that comes back to that kind of clarity angle, right? Like, it has to be, first of all, there should be a human in the loop on all of this content, right? Like, if you are using 100%. AI to produce content, it needs, there's a lot of power in a human that knows how to use AI and can use AI to produce better content. There's a lot of risk in AI produced content without that human in the loop. So finding that right structure is really, really key. But yeah, I think you're right. I have seen there are a variety of tools out there that will, generate a content map for you and auto publish all of this content that's meant to rank. And it's not the way I would advise anybody to go. And I think you nailed the ones I focus on are SEO, which is mostly technical these days. I think there's a lot of that's about your page speed, your indexing. SEO has become more technical sitemaps than anything else. Alt text, all of those things. And then you've got AEO, which is answer engine optimization. And that's incredibly important for, again, that's those snippets, that's, that kind of stuff. And then you've got GEO, which can be defined two ways. There's, actual GEO in terms of like location based search. And then there's generative engine optimization, which is mostly, what I work with, from a digital landscape. But that generative engine optimization is extremely important too, right? Like that's getting surfaced in the LLMs itself. That's being able to go to ChatGPT and say, tell me about this brand, or tell me, help me find this type of business in my area, and getting, that kind of information back. So I always tell people, I'm like, if you can't go to ChatGPT and say, tell me about your business, put it in there. And what you get back, if it can't find you, or it's misquoting it, it doesn't seem right, it's very generic, then like it doesn't know enough to surface you as an answer yet. And that's something you kind of have to fix.
Totally agree. I'm so doubling down on this with you because not many people are talking about it this way. Yeah. They kind of sell one or the other. They're either selling SEO still, oh gosh, just AEO, or just GEO, and they're defining GEO as AI SEO. So I just really love that we're both like, I found somebody who is saying this.
It is.
You need all three.
It's a combo. It's a combo pack. Yeah, agreed. I say all the time, I'm like, I hear like, oh, SEO is dead. I'm like, it's not dead. You just need to invite its other friends to the party, AEO and GEO. And you need to focus on what each one does and where. But ultimately, it's all a system that needs to work together. And if you are working with an agency or a marketing person that is still doing SEO the old way, and that way worked for so long, right? Like SEO was really consistent for a really long time. But if they're still doing that and they have not started incorporating these strategies, you need to very quickly find another agency or train them on, these practices, because it's not dead, but it is now a smaller piece of the puzzle than it used to be.
Okay, shameless plug. MKG Marketing, where we help you with your SEO, SEO, AEO, and GEO. Reach out today. Jenna, I could talk to you all day about this. It's so nice just getting validation. When you're sort of in an echo chamber of one, it's just really relieving to hear from others. And it's starting to happen, and it's good. It's the way the market needs to go. A few more questions for you, leading back to getting back on track here, people. Thank you for our diversion. We appreciate you. When we see a spike in brand search, so we're talking about digital ads now, switching gears, everybody with me? When we see a spike in brand search and a drop in non-branded search traffic, how do we recalibrate our spend? Do we double down on channels that we're spending those clicks and getting that branded traffic? Do we diversify? I feel like all roads are going to lead to brand these days. Am I crazy?
I think to some extent. I think that's a really loaded question, and I'd want to look at all of the data before I gave somebody a pathway on that. But I think what's most relevant is how competitive is your brand. If you have a really well-known brand and that people are going to be looking for what they, if you're a known entity really well in your market, then I think brand search is where you want to funnel most of that kind of spend and traffic. And then on your non-brand search, right, we're trying to kind of overtake some market share there. On the other hand, if you're not sometimes people don't even know what solution they're looking for. They know they've got a problem. They're problem aware, but maybe not solution aware, and certainly not brand aware, then I want to push more of the non-branded search traffic. But yes, I mean, certainly, at least from a data standpoint, your brand search ROI is always going to look, it should look higher. It should be higher than your non-branded search. But I think ultimately, like, you've got to evaluate on a campaign by campaign basis based on
Sure, definitely.
your market. I don't know if there's a singular answer there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it is going to depend on the market and your sales cycle and whether it's more transactional. If it's super transactional, it's going to be more of a see it, click it, buy it,
Right.
what across paid and organic, or if it's
Mhm.
more of a long term, bigger buy, bigger decision making, longer sales cycle, then it's definitely going to be probably your brain is probably eating a lot of your attribution. But that means that more people are seeing you out in the wild, or you're
Right.
showing up in the research and then
Right.
you're filling in that form. So,
Yep.
yeah, it definitely, quote unquote, depends.
It depends.
Um,
Yes.
it depends. What are some early warning signs in terms of the quote unquote 2026 marketing engine that tells a founder their visibility is fading before the leads actually stop coming in?
Obviously, this is obvious, but decreased leads regardless of where they're coming, like I'm not so worried if it's like my volume's been consistent, but my website traffic is down. I'm like, they're just finding you elsewhere. That's actually good.
Sure.
I'm not worried about that. So certainly, if you're seeing a slip in lead volume, that's concerning. That's something we want to figure out where that slippage is happening, and most likely it's that your website traffic has decreased and your AEO traffic or your other platforms haven't increased, to level that out. So that would be a concerning point. Engagement, if you're noticing just a significant drop in engagement, whether it's on your socials, if your email open rate is tanking, that's a concern. So that engagement is really concerning. And then the probably the biggest one right now is client satisfaction. If your churn rate is increasing, if your bounce rate is getting really high from customers, then there is a market mismatch that you're not hitting and someone else is. So that would be kind of my priority order in that world.
Yeah, I in terms of these things dropping, um, what happens if you see it drop across the board? Like everything gets hit. Is there usually a reason for that, or is that just like I think everybody's blaming site traffic right now on AI. I think there's some validity to that.
Absolutely.
Um, how do you navigate with clients when this happens and like the panic sets it
Yeah, yeah. So
on
I
the
think
server end?
yeah, right. So the very first thing I would look at is what their overall visibility looks like, because it might be as simple as that. It might just be that, okay, you haven't optimized yet for AEO or GEO, and your website traffic slipping. So that's a big thing. That's probably the first place I'd start. The second place I'd start is messaging clarity and offer clarity. If you aren't resonating with your audience, if you aren't making it easy for them to understand who you are, who you help, and what transformation you provide on the other side, then that's a big issue. And so it's very possible that it's a situation where they've just their content has gotten watered down. Maybe their messaging has become unclear. It's scattered across too many platforms and doesn't all make a cohesive, brand story. So I'd want to look at that secondarily, to see why, what's failing here. So that failure point could be different. But I think, my biggest thoughts are, is your messaging not getting to your audience? And that could be a visibility problem or that could be a messaging problem. It's probably a little bit of both, most likely.
Both.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. Totally. All right, last question for you, Jenna, because clearly we could
Sure.
hang out all
Yeah.
day and just chat. If a founder is staring at pipeline that's gone
Mhm.
quiet and a website that
Yes.
feels like a ghost town, what is the
Mhm.
one tactical move that can take this afternoon to start getting them back on track?
A database reactivation. This is the time to reactivate your existing
Go
database.
shake that tree.
Your best customers are the ones that have already bought from you. So yeah, go shake that tree, see what you could do, with a DBR campaign before you try to launch anything new. Let's stabilize the base basically, and then look at do we need to incorporate some new offers and things like that. But certainly a database reactivation campaign can be so powerful.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. Ah, so good. Huge thanks to you, Jenna. Thank you so much for joining me
Thank
and
you.
for unpacking all of these things. The 2026, it's a new world.
It
I'm here
is.
for
It
it.
is. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us. Zachary, so glad to see you. Thank you for hopping on and chiming on in. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. This episode is brought to you by MKG Marketing. If you're watching your website traffic drop and your pipeline go bone dry because the dark social and zero click search, you can't shiny object your way out of it. You need a connected growth engine, one that restores clear, consistent visibility and connects those leading indicators to actual revenue. At MKG, we install that marketing growth engine and we are here for you. So slide into my DMs and let's hang out. I'm Carrie Gard, host of Back on Track and CEO of MKG Marketing, and we will see you next time on the Push Line.